Live. Thanks for watching if you're going to watch, but make sure you listen because that's what I really need you to do. Download the podcast. That's where I get my 25 cents a month. So, yeah, could you please do that? I hope you all had a great holiday and I hope your New Year's is great. Everything is pretty cool in the Curtis apartment. We did find a condo that I think we're going to get. We Everything seems to be moving along okay, so I won't. I'll be in a larger space hopefully very soon. Probably mid-February, so I'm pretty stoked about that. The Eddie Brill episode is out today, and I had a really good talk with Eddie, and it's fresh because it was just last week. I usually have a lot of episodes stacked up, but the I had no idea that Eddie really for 11 years chose the comedians to be on Letterman, and some of the stuff that he looked for in comedians and stuff like that. Really, really good conversation, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. So check that out. It's Eddie Brill. It's out today, and let Eddie know what you think. Let's see. I don't have any sponsors to talk about. I'm still going after a couple, so no sponsors. So let's just get this going. I'm going to bring out Johnny Beehner. Johnny, thanks for coming to the podcast today.
Well, thanks for having me. It's my pleasure. Good to
So
be
I'm doing
here.
this. I'm doing this weird thing where I just go to Dry Bar and pick out a video and watch it. And I watched yours, and it's almost like we're the same person because you're 6'5", I'm 6'5". You sucked at sports. I sucked at sports. It's just like we're the same person except for you're a little bit younger.
Okay. Okay. Other than that, and I have a little bit more hair, just a little bit more hair.
Oh yeah. Oh, well, hair. What? Who cares about hair? I mean, the nice
I
thing.
know. Hair's overrated.
Yeah. And I think you might be able to help me because there is a website where I order most of my clothes from called American Tall. Have you heard of it?
No, that's good. It sounds like you're going to be helping me. I
Yeah.
I don't have clothes that fit me very well.
E- Exactly. That's our problem. So what I'm thinking about doing, I've already approached them on Twitter. They don't have any way of contacting them, so I've approached them on Twitter, and I'm going to do it Facebook. What I want to do is bring them on as a sponsor, and they just pay me in clothes. I don't need I don't need money. I need clothes,
Right.
and then we're gonna if we could do that, so we could do this together because you have a podcast too. We
Yeah, I
could
have a podcast.
yeah, we could be co-sponsors and then we could like share our wardrobe and never have to pay for clothes again.
I like it. I like it. That's a golden idea. Yeah. Everything I have to wear is my mother-in-law figured it out. Large, tall, but a lot of lines don't offer that tall option.
And that's
And when
exactly
they do, they sell out.
let's talk about American Tall a little bit because their large tall is perfect. So we're both large talls. It's wonderful. And they even have extra tall. So if you're like 7 foot tall, they have the extra tall. So that shirt that you want to wear untucked can stay untucked and you don't show your belly button. So
Right.
I love their clothes. I got workout clothes. I got a denim. I've spent a lot of money with them, so they should be giving me some clothes in exchange for a sponsorship. So let's get together. Let's make that happen, and let's just be the tall guys with nice clothes for once.
All right. Sounds good. Yeah.
So I discovered you on the Dry Bar. Listen to your special. I stalked all your videos and stuff like that. You are just you're you're effervescent as a comedian. I mean, it's weird because I listen because your Dry Bar special is on Spotify, which I don't use anymore because Spotify sucks for comedians and
Yeah.
musical
They
artists.
just pulled all the albums.
But before I got mad at Spotify, I listened to it and then I watched it. It's amazing how different watching is than listening, because everything's funny when you listen, but when you see the mannerisms and stuff like that, and you do good act outs and all that kind of stuff. So
Hmm.
I always recommend, if there is a video of something, that you watch it. So just get that Dry Bar app and watch Johnny's show, because it's really, really good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you can watch it on the Dry Bar Plus app, I think, or
Yeah.
just Dry Bar app. But then you can also you can watch it on YouTube if you just do a YouTube search for Johnny Beehner and look at the longest one. They have it posted basically in full. It doesn't have the intro or the credits, but
Uh-huh.
it's pretty much the special.
Yeah, yeah, it was really good. So what got you started in doing stand up?
I always did theater stuff, like, growing up. And then my older brother, who's living in LA, he's an actor, and he dabbled in stand up very briefly, just kind of did it experimentally, when he was living in New York. And
Mhm.
I just thought that was so cool, fell in love with it. I just had to do it. And so I went and lived with him one of the semesters after freshman year of college.
Mhm.
And so I was in New York for 3 months and just did, bringer shows. And that's the first time I did it, and just kind of
Mhm.
fell in love, then started doing it around, putting on my own shows, producing shows at the campus at college. And then after I graduated, just kind of went for it. I mean,
Uh-huh.
I got a job. Had to get a job, but while I was working towards going full time. And then made the plunge in 2007, I believe. I went full
Cool.
time.
And I saw in your bio that you also did some stuff at Second City in Chicago. Are you originally a Chicago guy?
No, Milwaukee,
Oh,
originally
wow. Okay.
Milwaukee, but
Close
so I
enough.
just went
Yeah.
down to the Chicago every Sunday and
Yeah.
went through that program.
You've definitely got that Midwest flavor to your comedy that works so well. I mean, I'm from South Bend, Indiana, so just
Oh,
a hop.
okay.
I'm just on the other side of Chicago from you, so it's
Yeah.
yeah. It was for some reason Midwesterners just love to hear other Midwesterners do comedy.
Yeah, that's so funny that you said. I'm glad to hear that, because, like, I mean, we lived in LA in 2015. We moved to LA, and it was great. We were there for 4 years, and we just knew we're I mean, I'm a Midwest guy. I like the Midwest better. LA was cool for what it was. It had its pluses, but I'm so much happier just being back. And I'm in Madison now, in
Okay,
Wisconsin. Yeah, so
yeah.
that's where we live now. And that's but I just like the Midwest better. So I'm glad that it comes across as a good fit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, we can pick each other out of a crowd pretty easy, I think, just by saying "ope,"
Yeah.
and we're good to go. You're like, oh, yep,
Yeah.
Midwest, yep. So one of the cool things that I read was that you were one of the last stand-ups on Letterman,
Yeah,
and
it's funny that you mentioned last week you had Eddie Brill, right?
yeah,
Because yeah, I was he had me on his the Great American Comedy Festival, and I met him at the Laughing Skull Festival in Atlanta, and we kind of hit it off, and kept in touch. And then he had me on that, and we were talking. And then he was no longer the person booking it.
yeah.
And uh and so, that stinks. But I mean, he's a great guy. He's a good friend. Every time I go to New York, I reach out to him. But yeah, 2015, I did Letterman. And I was the last new comic they had. So I was the last comic to make their debut.
Oh, wow. That
Yeah.
was that kind of weird. Was the studio kind of weird going into it because they knew it was the end?
No, I mean, it was January, and he didn't leave till what, May.
Yeah,
So I mean, and I'd never been there, so it's not like I was like, "Ooh, this
yeah.
seems different than normal." I was still crapping my pants for my own reasons.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
it was very surreal and exciting.
I bet. So, I mean, you get like 4.5 or 5 minutes when you go out there. How did you know that 5 minutes was ready when you got out there?
Well, so here's kind of the story of how it happened. So I submitted, and he reached back. He reached back the booker that was doing it when I did it, and said, this is a good set. I'd love to work with you, and and have you on hopefully sometime. And this was before it was announced that he was retiring.
Hmm.
And then we'd go back and forth, and I didn't really get a whole lot of response. And I was like, oh, okay. And then he announced he's retiring, and I was like, it's just not going to happen. And I would send occasional messages just checking in and not hear anything. And I was like, dang it. And then after Christmas, I was like, all right, well, whatever, one more shot. And he said, hope you had a good holiday, blah, blah, blah. And then he emailed me back, and he was like, hey, can you talk on the phone? So I talked to him on the phone. He's like, "Hey, in couple weeks, next week? Are you available?" So obviously it was a fallout, and the timing was perfect. But I was like, yeah. So that whole week, between the phone call, so I got the phone call on the 7th of January, and then I did my show on I think the 15th, and it aired on the 16th,
Uh-huh.
and so I would just go every club, Madison, Milwaukee. I kind of told them, hey, this I am going to be on the show. I need to run this set. And this was the set that I had submitted. There's just a couple tweaks. I couldn't say, I don't know. I think I said boobs in one thing and they wanted it to change. I ended up cutting that joke because I didn't saying breasts just isn't, it just changed the whole thing and it wasn't as
Yeah.
funny. But yeah, so I just ran it a bunch of times and like every night until I went. And then, even in New York, we went out and they take you to a club and you run it the night before, just to,
Hmm.
time for timing purposes. And he's writing down notes and everything. So yeah, I mean, that had the set had been kind of, I think the set that I sent him was recorded, probably 5-6 months before I did it,
Hmm.
the initial
So,
set.
so thinking about when you started and working, essentially in improv and doing the bringer shows and things like that, when did you realize that, hey, I'm good enough to be on Letterman, or I think I'm good enough to be on Letterman?
Oh God. I don't know if I ever felt that way. I don't even know if I still feel that. I mean, I have such I I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I've ever felt like that. I just was like, hey, it's not gonna happen if you don't put it out there.
Uh-huh.
What's the worst that could happen? They could say no, they can ignore me, or they can say stop sending, what oh well, then they're
Yeah.
gonna have to do that if they want me to stop submitting because I want it, I wanted to be on that show. And I don't know. I mean, I think especially when I started, I had way more. I think a lot of comedians are this way, but I had way more confidence than I had talent and
Yeah.
ability. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I mean, I was bad. I was doing so. I did New York, those bringer shows, and I was terrible. But I didn't know. I didn't know anything, and so I started producing my own shows at Marquette, where I went to college, and they were great. But I was on the improv team. I was running the improv team at Marquette, and so the whole campus knew who I was. I already had them on my side. So anytime I would produce a show at college, I was basically performing for people that already were fans or knew who I was. So then when I graduated college and I started doing the clubs for non-college kids that were adults and didn't know me at all. Ooh, that was a slap. That was a rude awakening. I did the Comedy Cafe my first weekend after like the first two shows. JD, the owner was like, just doing, this club has a reputation for just do the announcements. You'll
Yeah.
get better, but we can't. You got to just do the announcements, no jokes.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, that killed me, but I kept at it. So I kind of, but I never, I don't know. I guess I've just always been delusional. That's kind of what you have to be to get ahead, and to get far.
Yeah, really, in anything that you do, you have to be a little bit delusional and a little bit overconfident in order to get up to the next level. That's what
Yeah,
I found.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Now you were your your set works well for dry bar, but it also is a really good club set. And you know, clean comedy. I'm really glad it made a comeback because that's what I do.
Hmm.
And I'm glad Gaffigan and Bargatze did their thing and uh, made it so clean comedy is a little bit more acceptable. you,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and but you do it in a way that it just brings people in. People are leaning in. They want to know about your relationship with your wife, and the joke about uh, she can push out a 9-pound baby, but the commercials on net or on Hulu,
Yeah.
it breaks her, and I it's just great stuff, and it really keeps people in. So when you started doing comedy, was it anything like that, or did that have to grow as you grew as a comedian?
Yeah, that definitely was very different. Like when I first started, I mean, I was very, very silly, and I mean, it's still silly, but like it was very abstract. It was
Mm,
very, I've always been a big fan of like Steve Martin and stuff, or just weird and different and
non
silly.
sequitur type stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's type of
Yeah.
stuff. And so I was a lot more heavier on that. And then I kind of became, as I put sets together and just was a comedian longer, kind of fell into becoming a storyteller. I just kind of my true voice kind of came out. And
Hmm.
I am, my set is more like storytelling and
Hmm.
stuff like that. And you just write, everyone always says you write about your life and write about what you know. And I have children and I have a wife and and so that's kind of what the act has evolved into. Whereas before, I used to be like just the perfect comedian for a college, and I would do college shows, and now I'm like, man, if I do book a college show, I gotta look in some old notebooks because they don't want
Yeah.
to hear about my wife and having kids.
uh,
So it's definitely evolved and changed, as my life has changed. It's definitely reflecting what's going on in my life.
yeah. You seem really, really comfortable on stage? Is that true, or are you just a nervous wreck before you go up?
No, I am pretty comfortable on stage. I mean, I have my shows. If the stakes are high or there's certain, important people there, or it's yeah, I mean, if the stakes are high and it's like, oh, this one performance will affect my future, that's obviously, but I mean, I think it's just a background in I did speech in grade school and theater, and I've just always loved. I mean, I'm one of seven. I'm the middle child in a family of seven,
Oh,
so I,
okay.
I always make a joke that I need attention, and so
Yeah.
this is where I get it. I never got it, at home. I was always overlooked, so I crave the spotlight.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. You're the Jam Brady of your family, so that's cool.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
when you when you got out of the well, let's talk about improv a little bit because I'm in a lot of comedy groups and stuff like that, and there's always the faction that just totally shits on improv. It's like improv is not comedy. That's not good.
Hmm.
And then there's the ones who say improv really improved my stage presence and being a good comedian and being present and stuff like that. It's so evident when you watch comedians that did improv that they are more engaged with the audience. And do you feel that that really helped you get to be as comfortable as you are on stage and able to, be silly with the audience and stuff like that?
I think it definitely helped as far as my comfortability on stage because I mean, you're out there kind of on a wire with no net when you're doing improv, and you do that so much, you do get used to being on stage and not knowing what's going to happen, and so it definitely helped with being comfortable on stage. And as far as, I mean, people always think like, oh, it helps you come back. If someone drops the glass, you have improv, so you're able to. And I don't know if that really helps, because it's like, it's just if you are comfortable, then your mind it's able to be free to think of what to say or something funny, because you're just more in your natural element, as opposed to like if person's first time on stage, they go up, someone drops a glass, they're probably not going to address it because they're like, wait a minute, I'm still trying to figure out what this light is doing in my face.
Yeah.
They're just out of their element. And so it's just like, yeah, that comfortability on stage opens doors for you to be more flexible and react to weird things that happen, or to mess with the crowd.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Now, your bits are like you say, it's more of a storytelling thing, and they tend to be longer bits with lots of good tags. And it seems very natural. You're very good at making it look like it's the first time you said it, and it's more of a conversation. But like, say the cat joke, the hairball joke, and
Yeah.
it's a little bit longer because you talk about, do you like cats and stuff like that, and you're weird if you like cats, and then you get into the hairball. How long did it take to put all of that together into a joke where you felt like it was good enough to put on dry bar or in a headlining set?
I think, I think that joke, I had that joke for a while, and that was kind of a good closing joke before I ever did the dry bar. So I knew that one was strong and that I wanted to be on there.
Hmm.
But I mean, the cat hairball, waking me up and being on my pillow, like that happened. It's true.
Yeah,
It's true. So it's
yeah,
kind of like, that's one of those bits where it writes itself, and you're like, I just have to tell the story and just kind of milk every beat. But yeah, a lot of, I mean, that particular one, I don't know. And that's kind of one thing that's frustrating, is like when you put it down, either on the dry bar special or on an album, it's out there.
yeah,
And I am not one of these comics that, okay, my album's done, I will never do those jokes again.
yeah,
I gotta evolve into the next album. And
yeah,
so I'm still doing those for a little while. And then you kind of, you come up with tags, or you make it stronger after it's been recorded. And you're kind of like, what am I doing? Why am I putting the energy into strengthening this bit
yeah,
that's already been recorded? It's frustrating, but
yeah.
so I
And
mean, no joke. Yeah, no joke is ever really done, I don't think.
right, right. Yeah, and do you, as far as your writing process goes, coming from the improv, are you more of a, you have it written down exactly how you want to say it, or do you take ideas on stage? How do things get on stage for you?
I mean, I do all the different ways. It's funny, was when I started, it was, I'd be at a computer and I just
Hmm.
write from scratch, and that's how I would do it. I mean, I have notebooks of typed papers that I printed out. That's how I would do it when I was in college and putting those shows together. And it was just, okay, rehearse, rehearse. And now it's to the point where I will write in a notebook, just to make sure I'm writing and doing my, morning pages or whatever, just to get
Hmm.
it out. But I mean, I think the best way that I write, which I should do more, is where I just is just going for walks and just put
Hmm.
my mind like, okay, I'm on stage, and just talking to myself as if I am on stage, because that's when I come up with stuff.
Hmm.
But I don't do like, I don't know, Bill Burr, Louis C.K., whatever, where they're like, oh, I'll just work it out on stage. Because I've done that enough. I mean, things come to you on stage, but I don't like take an idea with no beats and go on stage, because I have tried that, and I have had my wiener in my hand
Yeah, so
in
have
front
I.
of a
Yeah.
crowd with nothing to, it's like, huh, you know.
And the funny thing is, it's not just that premise sucks. It's the fact that it sucked, and nobody reacted in any way, and you don't even want to get into your good stuff at that point. You're
Right.
you're so mad at yourself for doing it that you're like, I don't even really need to be up here anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what's frustrating is like you're upset, like in your head, you know you're in trouble, and they don't know in the audience. They're like, okay, where's he going? Because they think, oh, he's getting to it. He's getting to it. In your head,
Yeah.
you're like, no, that was it. That was it.
Yeah. There's no end game here.
Yeah.
It's a punchlineless joke.
Right. Yeah, that can be brutal sometimes.
Yeah. So being a married dude with kids, and let's pretend that COVID isn't making a comeback and you're going back on the road or whatever, a lot. How do you balance your life with the traveling and your married life and stuff like that?
Well, I don't do long tours. We'll all go out. Like I'll
Hmm.
go, I'll go out for a weekend, come back, be home for the week, out for the
Hmm.
weekend, back. And I usually won't do like, I don't know, four, if I do 4 weekends in a row, it's, it's pretty stressful at home, as far as like, I just feel like, okay, my wife's doing everything and the kids aren't seeing me except for when they get home from school.
Hmm.
So it's rare that I'll do that. But I mean, I was, I did a couple, I was doing cruises before COVID, and that's
Hmm.
where you're gone for at least, anywhere from 14 to 18 days. I mean, it could be way longer, but I always said I'll never do more than 2 weeks. But I think
Yeah.
they got me for 2.5 one time. And that's tough because there's no, the phones, if I'm in the, middle of the ocean, there's no phone, and the internet that you have to pay for is satellite internet, so it's like slow and choppy.
Yeah.
So it's like not only are you not home, but it's like you're you're very limited as far as contacting them at all. So that's tough. So, but now, yeah, I mean, I go out and go back.
Uh-huh.
So I don't
So
do like long stringing tours together.
yeah, so not as bad. Do you have like goals that you would like to hit? I think the dry bar is a great launching pad. Just like
Yeah.
being on Letterman's a great launching pad. It gets people noticed. So do you have some goals in mind that you'd like to do as far as your stand up goes, or take it in a different direction?
I mean, I would love to. I would love. I mean, it's funny because I would love to get on TV again, as far as like do a late night set again.
Uh-huh.
That's kind of my next short term goal, as far as the next thing I would like to do. But I'm just writing more now. But it's funny that that's a goal because I feel like TV is slowly becoming less and less important. It's
Yeah.
definitely less impactful. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
there used to be what 3, 4 stations, and it was everyone saw you if you were on, and now there's you work with someone. It's a feature that you've never met and you don't know, and they have been on TV a bunch. It's like
Right.
it just doesn't do as much. But it's such an exciting thing, and it's just so fun that I want to do it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, as far as I just kind of want to get this is my goal is to have people coming to the club, like to be able to pack a club because my name's on the billboard, not because, oh, let's go see comedy. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. Right. Yeah.
That's the end game goal.
And what
And if
if
I got
that's
past that, that'd be great.
Yeah, that's really good. And what do you do as far as self promotion to get to that point where you've got those true fans that will show up wherever you show up?
Well, I'm trying. I mean, I plug everything on my shows and try to get people to follow me. I used to I used to collect email addresses and work on my mailing list,
Yeah,
to keep
yeah,
in contact and have it specified by each city. And then I couldn't read I couldn't read their. I got to figure out a new system. I got to like do it on an iPad or something. Have them enter it themselves
yeah.
and give them swag as motivation for them to
uh,
sign up, because I don't want anyone breaking an iPad, but I need I just can't read anyone's, or I don't know. There's so many people would fill them out and write jokes on there, and then I have
right.
to get home and manually enter them. And so I kind of stopped, and I haven't restarted doing that. I mean, you can join my mailing list through my website, but I don't know
Yeah.
how, you know,
Actually, it's not bad.
many people do.
I actually put a pop up on mine, and it, I get maybe 10 a month.
Oh,
Uh,
that's good. Yeah, that's
yeah.
good.
I mean, it's
You know,
not
what's funny is
terrible.
mine. I have to talk to my web guy because the default, like when you say the state you're in,
Uh
the
huh.
default is Alabama because it's the top one.
Yeah. Uh huh.
And so I'm like, I would get these because I get notified every time I get a new one. I'd be like, oh wow, another Alabama. Like everyone from Alabama. It's like, so he needs to change it so that you have to select it, like where it
Yeah.
says select your state. But they
Uh huh.
just ignore it, and so it just stays on the top one. But I have to
Right.
like have it changed to where it forces them to pick because now they're all in it. I don't know where half of mine are because they're all from Alabama because they didn't
Maybe
specify.
they are all in Alabama because I'm in Alabama now, and I'm actually in Madison, Alabama. We're in the same town in different states, so maybe they
Oh,
are
you're in
all from.
Madison, Alabama?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
So it's right by Huntsville, and
Okay.
we've got a comedy club here. So maybe you should come down and do a spot. Maybe all your true fans are here.
Yeah, all those people
Yeah.
from the last few years. What is the club? What is the club by you?
Stand up live.
Oh, okay, cool.
I think it is. It's an off. It's owned by a bigger comedy club, but they call it
Is it
Stand
a
Up Live here.
levity? Is it a levity room
It
or an
might
improv room?
be.
Okay.
Yeah, it might be.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
So I I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. I did the same thing with Eddie.
Uh,
I think I'm
that's all
doing.
right.
I think I'm doing these too early. My mind tends to be a little bit better later at night, so that's my
That's
problem.
when
I
we
will.
always record ours late at night because that's when
Yeah,
when everyone's in bed. The kids are in bed. My wife's doing her own thing.
yeah.
And then I'm not. Yeah.
And I'll cut this out of the audio. So, folks, if you're watching live, I see a couple of you out there. You're gonna see stuff that nobody else gets to hear. So this is great.
Well, it sounds like
Um,
you edit more than we edit if you're
yeah, a
cutting
little bit.
anything out.
It's funny. I over edited when I started. You're like my 96th interview, so I over edited when I started, and
Oh
then
wow.
I said screw it and didn't edit at all, and then I went back to doing a little bit and then more, and now I'm back to screw it. Just put it out the way it is,
Yeah.
unless I say something so stupid like I don't know what I was going to ask you next. So that'll probably come out because that's just almost like dead air. But yeah.
That's funny.
Anyway, so that's like 2 minutes that I'll be cutting out right now. But as far as how old are your kids now?
8, 7, and 3.
Okay, so at least your 8 year old. Do they have a idea of what dad does for a living?
Well, yes, they know what I do for a living. And you know what's funny is like, so, okay, so I had two stories. So, when my set for Letterman was written, I had my daughter because we have girl, boy, girl. So I had
Uh-huh.
my daughter, and my wife was pregnant with my son.
Uh-huh.
And then between performing that set and taping it, and then submitting it, my son was born. And so I didn't change it. I talked with the booker and he was like, well, do you want to change it? And I was like, I think just do it how it is. So in the act, I talk about how my wife's pregnant. But when I went with my wife and my son to New York for the taping, and my daughter stayed with my mother-in-law.
Uh-huh.
So I'm on stage talking about she's pregnant with my son, but he's actually backstage, and they were hanging out with Ella Henderson and the band that
Yeah.
were on. It's cool as we got a picture of Ella Henderson that performed right after me holding my son. So that was kind of cool. I'll have
Yeah.
to show him when he gets older. But then as far as them knowing what I do, so everything's shut down. We had no work for whatever, a year and a half. And then it started slowly opening up, and I got an outdoor gig in Port Washington, Wisconsin. And I was so excited. I was like, because I did a ton of Zoom shows, and I was like, oh, this will be great. This will be perfect. A live audience. They're probably starving for entertainment. I am starving to be in front of a live audience. It's going to be awesome. I'll bring my son. It just, why not? He can see me for the first time. It'll be awesome.
Hmm.
So I bring him, and nobody is masked except for me and him. It's just one of those parts of Wisconsin where it's like they just not, they're going to pretend COVID isn't existing.
Yeah.
And I realized, like, so, an outdoor show at a restaurant is not an ideal show. Like, it's just not, when you're doing
Yeah.
comedy, there are shows that suck, but you
Uh-huh.
do them because you're a comedian, you want money, or you just, that's what we do. We do comedy. But after COVID, I was like, I forgot about that. I was like, oh, it's a show with a live audience. This is going to be great. I'll bring my son. So he's watching me, and I mean, this was an awful show. They're like, no one's masked. I'm doing jokes addressing COVID because you got to talk about it. This is weird to just ignore it. And
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, we don't wear masks around here. And I'm just like, oh my God. And I'm making
Uh,
jokes like, oh, you guys probably think it's a hoax. One guy's like, it is a hoax. Like, oh, okay. And then one guy, so it's a restaurant. Some guy's walking out to his car. He wasn't even at the comedy show. And he yells out, you suck. He's just walking by a comedy show. He's like, oh, this is what I want. I'm glad my son's here. Oh, it was just awful.
oh, and you're
Oh,
not even going into like Lewis Black material.
oh
You're
no,
you're
not
just
at
doing
all.
regular stuff, and
Yeah.
you make one comment, and they turn against you.
Oh
I was
God.
at an outdoor show that was very similar to that. Have you ever run into Jeff Shaw? He
Oh
does.
yeah.
Yeah. So I
You know
saw
what, Jeff
him, and
Shaw? I bet he was the feature act. He was featuring the weekend that I got told just do announcements.
yeah.
How funny is that? Yeah, he's been
It's
around a
amazing.
while.
You guys all know each other, but he,
Yeah.
he did an outdoor thing, and it was a similar part of the country. It was cornfield restaurant, and he was doing it outdoors, and he talked about the cornfield. He talked a little bit about COVID, and then he got the it's a hoax, booze and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But the worst part was that there was two tables up front, and they were like picnic tables that were just loaded with people that didn't have any desire to listen to Jeff. They just wanted to talk, and he couldn't get them to shut up to save his life. So it was
Right.
it was a rough show for him, and but we became friends after that, so that was nice. So
That's funny. Oh gosh, there's always those people.
yeah. So as far as you work pretty clean all the time. It looks like. I mean, I know that when
Well,
you
I
do
mean,
like
I think I've been told that I work clean. That's kind of why I consider, yes, I do clean comedy, but I never really looked at it that way until I've just been told or booked that way a lot.
uh-huh.
And I mean, my club set is different than a dry bar show,
Right,
my dry bar
right.
show, because that's squeaky. The dry
Yeah,
bar is like squeaky clean, and in a club, I mean, I don't get raunchy. I look at it as more like sophomoric and child, like kind
yeah.
of
Right.
immature,
Yeah,
poopy humor. Sometimes like
yeah.
I'll get into that, but I'm not like super vulgar at all, really.
Right. And I'd say cleanish
Yeah.
in most cases, and that is I, obviously it's perfect for TV, and audiences seem to really gravitate towards it. But have you ever been in a club where the you're the headliner or even the feature, and the host is super dirty and the feature's super dirty, and then you come out and do you? Have you ever been in that situation where the crowd is all ready to hear a lot of f-bombs and sexually explicit stuff, and then you come out talking about hairballs and being tall?
Nah, not really like where I'm headlining a show, just because I think when I'm booked, they are mindful of they know what I do.
Hmm.
But I mean, I don't have any requirements, as far as openers or anything like that. I mean, I did I was featuring at may have been one of the worst shows of my career. I was at Morty's in Indianapolis. That's not even there anymore, is it? I don't think.
No, yeah, Morty's is gone.
But Miss Pat was wanted to do a guest set, so she did a guest set before me, and she did a very def comedy jam set, and that was like going from her dirty set. I mean, she can work clean. She's very, versatile. But that
Hmm.
night she was not. She was giving them a very urban and dirty and just explicit show. And then here comes Johnny talking about Johnny Beehner has a tiny wiener. They were not having. Oh, I ate it. Oh my God. It was brutal. It was brutal. They're like, one guy, I mean, it's just quiet for most of the time. And then they start booing. And then I was like, well, all right, well, I'm not, what did I say? I said something like, all right, I'm almost done. And then they start cheering. And I go, well, I'm
Oh.
not done yet. And then they start booing. I was like, oh my God. Oh, it was brutal.
So on a set like that, the aftermath, how long do you allow yourself to feel bad about it?
Well, I mean, I'd still talk about it on podcasts,
Yeah.
obviously. No, but you know what though? I mean, I was pretty. I mean, I was pissed at the audience because I was like, "That's shitty," you know. All right,
Uh-huh.
you don't like me, whatever. But that's like when you actively boo. If I bomb, then that's on me. But like when you're booing and just being like assholes. So after the show, I stood by the door and handed out my cards, and I still pitched my merch, and
Yeah.
I acted like I was oblivious to what just happened. And these
Uh-huh.
people are coming out and they'd see me. I'd be like, "Hey, here's my card. Follow me." And they must have been like, "Is this moron? Does this guy? Is he serious? Does he have no idea that he just ate it?" But I was like, you know what? Screw it. Whatever.
That's probably what I would do too. If nothing else, it shows that you're still in control of your own career. So
Yeah,
even
exactly.
though it was a shitty show, and it's just you can't control some of those things.
Yeah.
If Miss Pat wouldn't have been there, then it might have been okay.
Yeah,
But
the other shows that weekend were fine.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So coming up, you've gotten to meet, people I know, Eddie and Jeff and things like that. Did you have anybody that really mentored you and steered you in a way to not only on the writing and the performance side, but also the business side of comedy that helped you out?
Um, well, do Greg Hahn?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, I'm friends with him, and he's been like huge as far as when I started out, as far as helping me. So I saw him on Comedy Central's Make Me Laugh,
Uh-huh.
and just thought it was so funny. And this is before I even did stand up. This was like when I was in high school and stuff. And me and my brothers would watch, like we would tape it and watch it, and thought it was so funny. I
Uh-huh.
didn't even realize he was a comedian because that show is so ridiculous.
Oh
I
yeah,
just thought
yeah,
he was someone's like hilarious, funny dad,
yeah.
because he's telling these, the pun jokes or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And then my brother was on a plane with him, and like a year later or whatever, and was like, "Hey, were you on Make Me Laugh?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm on my way to Milwaukee to perform at the Comedy Cafe." And so me and my brother went to see him, and I brought a VHS tape of one of my shows that I did at college.
Uh-huh.
And after the show, I was like, "Hey, it's great to meet you. I'm a huge fan of yours. Hey, here's a tape of me doing stand up. If you have any pointers or anything." And he's such a saint. I mean, he's such a good guy. He actually watched it, and he was
Wow.
like, well, yes, you have potential. You will be funny in down the road. This is, there's a lot of funny stuff on here. And he brought me, he booked a gig at what was it, One Liners somewhere is that in Indianapolis? I don't remember where that was, or it was in Indiana somewhere. I don't remember the city.
I don't think that would be indie, but I don't know what.
It closed a while ago. I mean,
Was
it
it
was
Fort
it was in
Wayne?
the state of Indiana. I just don't remember. It wasn't Indianapolis. I can't
Was
remember
it?
the name.
Do you think it was Fort Wayne? Maybe.
No, it wasn't Fort
No.
Wayne.
Okay.
No, I don't know. I don't think of it. But it's closed now. But he brought me to feature, and I mean, it was great. I mean, I didn't do very good because I was brand new to real comedy in front of strangers.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually ended up getting bumped down to host from feature because he just brought me on word of mouth, like, hey, I got a feature I'm going to bring, and they're like, okay, and I just didn't do good, and the guy that was hosting has been doing it a while. He's a buddy of mine, Mike Marvell from Wisconsin, and so we just we swap. They had a swap. It was just a better show that way. But yeah, I mean, Greg, he would give me contacts. He'd be like, yeah, here, hit up Funny Business, reach out to them. You should be doing their rooms.
Mm-hmm.
And then he took me out for lunch, and we're like going over my act, and he's like doing my jokes for me, and kind of like I would do the thing where you kind of, what's it called, where you ruin the punchline by in the setup. You kind of blow the surprise. So I
Yeah.
had a habit of doing that, like just saying too
Uh-huh.
much early, and so he would kind of do my act or do jokes of mine back to me in a better way. And I was just like pissing my pants at my own material. I was like, oh my God, that's so smart.
Yeah.
So he definitely has helped me a lot. And I also, he is probably one of the funniest comedians I have ever seen. I will
Yeah.
watch his whole headline set
Yeah.
over and over still today. I just
Yeah.
think
He's a
he's
nut.
such a
He's a nut.
riot. Yeah.
Well,
So yeah,
thanks
he's
for
probably the biggest one that's helped me.
that's great. Thanks for everybody that's watching and commenting. I don't know who Agneta Waiter is. Your dreams online. I think this may be maybe somebody trying to get me on an OnlyFans or something. So yeah, never mind about that.
Yeah.
I did want to talk about, because I didn't know about the podcast coming into it. Can you tell me a little bit about what the podcast, the Cavalry, is all about?
Sure. Yeah. So we are on episode. We've done 86 episodes so far. Exciting. I take pride that we have not missed a week yet. We always
Nice.
had a backlog, and so we never had a blank week. But it's me and comedian Andrew Slater, who
Okay.
also has a dry bar special. He's hilarious. And we did a cruise together. We met each other a long time ago. I think we met each other at the Great American Comedy Festival. And we've known each other for a while, and then we did a cruise together and hit it off. And then when COVID hit, we were like, he was like, hey, you want to do a podcast together? So basically the gist of the Cavalry is we take topics, we bring up topics that we need backup on. Like, try to think of it. I mean, we do it every week, and I always struggle to think of what an example would be. Like, a handful of them, like M&Ms should not be eaten one at a time.
Mm-hmm.
2 handfuls is a bag of M&Ms. And then you just try to back the other person up. Sometimes it works. Sometimes the other person's like, I can't. I mean, sometimes it's more serious than, M&Ms and stupid shit like that.
Yeah.
But like so we just bring topics and we try to back each other up no matter how insane. So that's like the bones of it. And it, a lot of it just ends up being conversation and stuff. But we have fun. Comes out every Monday night, every Monday morning. I don't know when it drops, but there's new ones every Monday.
Yeah.
But it's the Cavalry, and everyone always gets it confused with the Cavalry. It's not the Cavalry. It's the Cavalry. Like calling in the backup.
Yeah.
The Cavalry
It's that extra L makes it a totally different word.
Yep. People are like, when we have guests, they're like, oh, I thought it was a religious thing. No.
Yeah. So one of the things I like to ask just about everybody I have on, what do you know now about stand-up comedy that you wish you would have known when you started?
That is a good question. That's an interesting question because, let's see, what do I know now? There's things that if I had known back then, if there's things that I know now that if I had known back then, I don't know if I would have kept doing it. You know what I mean? Because it's so hard. So many things are out of your hands, and you just kind of have to be a dreamer and not know how it works to stay in it. But what do I know now? Oh gosh, that is a good question. I don't do any of your guests ever say I have no idea?
I think I've had one or two. Yeah.
Oh boy, I don't know. That's a. I guess I don't know. I can't think of anything. I mean, I would just. I'm trying to think of advice of something I would say to myself when I started, but I just. I,
I will let you out of it. How about that?
sure. You can let me hem and haw a little more if you want.
Yeah, we'll do some tall guy solidarity there, and I'll just let you out
I
of it.
get a pass. All right.
Yeah, yeah. um, as far as the this will probably be the last question, but as far as the business of comedy goes, do you feel like that things are starting to get better for stand-up comics, or do you feel like things are getting a little bit worse for stand-up comics, and why?
I mean, are you talking about like in the long run in general, or are you
Yeah,
talking about COVID wise?
yeah, I would take COVID out of it. I'd say in general.
Um, I think I think in general, I think they are getting better in the long run. As far as like, if you are motivated, you can literally do any. You know, you can do anything you want. You can reach your audience. You don't have to
Hmm.
wait for gatekeepers or anything like that. If you have what they're looking for and what they're interested in, you know, you have a YouTube channel and you're savvy enough to get eyes on you, you can create your own audience, create your own demand. So in that regards, I definitely think that. But you know, with that comes it's very crowded,
Right.
and there are people that are excellent at social media, but they are not excellent at stand-up comedy that have
Hmm.
decided to do that. So you're competing with that, which is frustrating. So I think it kind of it's kind of both ways. But I mean, if you have the skill, I think now is a good time because
Hmm.
the accessibility is just so out there and great. I mean,
Yeah.
there used to be 4 channels or whatever it was to get on late night, and now there's, you know, there's still late night, there's Netflix, there's, you know, there's just Amazon. I mean, there's so many avenues.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's good. Have you ever had to feature for a TikTok star?
Yes. Yes. I did once. I don't know if it was TikTok or you. I think it was YouTube. And they're yeah, I mean, and it was it's funny. It was like it was kind of flattering how they were like, "Whoa!" Like after the show, they're like, "Whoa, you're really good."
Yeah.
Like they were blown away, and the audience, you know, liked my set, but like they did great because the audience was there to see them,
Yeah.
and it was them that they saw, and so they were happy. You know, everyone was happy,
Yeah.
but it was just fun to, you know, do really well in front of people that didn't come to see me.
Yeah. It's such a different muscle. One of the guys I interviewed last year, Corey Ryan Forrester, uh, did during the pandemic. He got really big into the TikToks and the videos and stuff like that, and he doesn't necessarily enjoy it as much. Definitely not as much as doing the stand up. Because
Yeah.
when I told him I was interviewing him, he'd been on a lot of podcasts talking about his persona. It's a buttercream dream that he does on the TikTok, Instagram, and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And he's like, and I'm like, I just want to talk about your stand-up comedy. He said, "Oh, thank you, thank you." I don't want
Ah,
to, but it's definitely a different muscle because I mean you're trying to get the biggest punch you can in like 30 seconds,
right. Yeah.
and
It's a good writing exercise for sure.
it is. It is. It's almost like doing current event stuff. If you can be different and better at doing a current
Yeah.
event joke, then that makes all your writing better. So
So
yeah,
did he say did he so he's obviously seen like a huge uptick in people coming to his shows because of
big
his
time. Yeah,
TikTok? Yeah, yeah.
yeah. It's he's. I mean, he's really kind of a I guess a double threat, not a triple threat, but kind of a double threat because he's got that audience and he's got the people who like him as a stand-up,
Yeah.
and it's he really did well with it, and he's I noticed he's doing fewer videos now that he's able to get on the road now, but he's still
Yeah.
keeping it up to keep that fan base there.
Yeah, I did that
Um,
for a while. I'm on TikTok and I did like cuz my partner Andrew from the podcast started doing it and he had a goal of like doing it a new video every day. And
Yeah.
so I did that. And I mean, it's a lot easier to get a video to explode, the numbers to explode on TikTok than Instagram or
Yeah.
YouTube or Facebook. I mean,
Right.
they really explode. So I got, big numbers and big following from that. And then I just kind of ran out of gas after I don't know how long and just didn't post one every day. And now it's,
Yeah.
I haven't posted one in a while. But
Yeah.
that's a good reminder of you saying that I need to be more posting more.
Yeah. I just recently talked to Jeff Plitt, and he's got like
Mm-hmm.
a few million views and about 100,000 followers, and he does all his videos in one day. And he just like changes clothes and does it all in one day. That way, he's got all his content
Oh
done
yeah, he's
like
got them all
on
backlogged.
Monday.
Yeah,
Yeah, on Monday or something like that. So I thought that
that's
was good.
smart.
Yeah. So speaking of social media, I got your website up. Where can people find you as far as all the socials
They're all Johnny Comic. Yeah,
go? Okay.
JOHNNY Comic, and that's my Twitter. That's my Instagram. I think that's my TikTok, and then that's also my Facebook fan page account.
Okay.
Just
Cool.
Johnny Comic across the board.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. It's really been nice getting to know you, and I think you're hilarious, and I really hope 2022 is a great year for you doing comedy.
Oh well, thanks. Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. It's good to meet you and good to chat with you. I hope I
Yeah.
wasn't too boring.
No, you're
I
great.
hope I didn't have too many hems and haws.
Yeah. I'm more of a hem and hawer anyway. So
That's all right.
yeah. Well, thanks for being
Cool.
on the show, Johnny.
You bet. Thank you.